Hi Libras, and welcome to your May 2019 Astrology 33 reading. We have a Celtic cross spread in front of us, and then we have a couple oracle cards we go through at the end to tie everything together, and also a mudra card. First off, let me say this looks like a really good spread for you guys, so definitely happy for you guys in that regard, because I know you've had some rough readings, with at least with my channel. I feel like you guys usually have kind of rough ones, and and I know you guys just had 2 full moons in your sign, so it might have been a little bit hectic for you, but it looks like things are definitely looking up here, so that's pretty cool. And I think last month the title of your reading was shedding, so maybe that's what that was all about, getting rid of the old to make way for the new. And if that's the case, it looks like the new's pretty good, so there's that. But yeah, let's just jump into the reading. In the main situation position, we have the Emperor. So this is the major arcana card for Aries. Obviously, that could point to you dealing with someone who has an Aries placement, sun, moon, or rising. This could also just point to your area of focus. You might be focusing on relationships. With this pointing to the 7th house for you as well, right now anyways, I'm recording this on the 22nd of April, and Mercury's already in that sign, and Venus just got there too. So, I could definitely have your mind focused on relationships. I know you guys kind of have a reputation for that in general, but yeah, those are pretty pleasant energies to have moving through that sign. So that could definitely be something that you guys have on your mind right now. And this just as an energy, this could be someone that you view as pretty high ranking, but maybe, I wouldn't say a little stubborn, but, maybe they just seem like they're very firm in their stance, and, you're like, okay, so I'm dealing with someone who knows what they want, right, and they won't settle, so maybe that's the type of energy that you're dealing with right now, someone in that kind of energy. And in the challenger obstacle position, we had 2 cards that came up in reverse. We have the Ace of Wands in reverse and the Page of Cups in reverse. So what that tells me is if this is regarding that person or that energy, right, that could just be saying that the challenger obstacle is to get something new off the ground with them. Obviously, the Ace of Wands is pretty self-explanatory in that regard, and then the Page of Cups usually represents a love offer. So with these 2 cards together, I would definitely say that with the fact that they came up in reverse, that could be the difficulty. Maybe this is someone you're trying to get something off the ground with, and either you're not able to move towards them at this point, or you're waiting on them to move towards you, because as Libras, you do tend to like the other person to make the first move, and you might feel like they're not doing so. So yeah, that's the main vibe that I'm picking up with that. All right, in the foundation position, we have the 6 of Pentacles. So this is an energy all about balance. You guys as the Libras, you're represented by the scales, and this is technically a Taurus card, which is the other sign ruled by Libra. But, this is definitely a very stable, balanced energy, and this could just be saying that that's what you're seeking right now. So let's say that that's the issue, right? Maybe in the past, it's been the Emperor who's been doing the majority of the work. Maybe that's saying the challenge is that now the challenge is for you to do a little bit of the work on your end this time around and to restore the balance. If that's the case, it looks like that is something that you're ultimately aiming for anyway, is that balance. And on the flip side, if you feel that you've been the one who's been putting in the majority of the work, and you feel like the way that they're coming off is that they're not moving towards you, right? You feel like they have a very stubborn, fixed energy, then that might be what you're waiting on. Like, okay, it's their turn to pick up the slack here and do something. So you guys will know what your connection is with this person, if it's that way, the other way. And I do have to mention as well, this often can represent a boss. So, 7th house doesn't always have to be romantic relationships. It could just be business partnerships also, a lot of legal contract type things. So this could also be a boss, and maybe you're waiting on a raise from them, for example. Maybe you guys are supposed to get bonuses or something. Some people get quarterly bonuses, for example, and maybe that was due, and you're just waiting on that. In the past position, we have the Knight of Wands. So this is Sagittarian energy. And right now, you guys have Mars in that house. So, basically, Sagittarius is the natural ruler of the ninth house. So, for you guys, your ninth house is Gemini. And right now, we actually have Mars in that sign. So, that could just be saying that you've been focusing, maybe doing some travel. And that could also represent philosophies and bigger picture, too. So, you also could have been learning a lot of things. Possibly even went back to school. Given that this is a past energy, could have been any time in the past, but that might have been where your focus was, especially with Mars moving through that house. And as for Sagittarius itself, actually, that's your third house of communication. So that could also point to you traveling. But if we look at it as a third house thing, that would represent more short distance travel, just moving around here and there, just on the go a lot, maybe a lot of communication. And what I also like to look at when I'm thinking of house placements is also any planets in there. And right now in the sign of Sagittarius, we have Jupiter that just started going retrograde. So if you combine that with the fact of their position in the reading, it looks like they also are moving backward, if you will. So, that could just be pointing to the Jupiter retrograde. So, you might be looking over some previous communications that you had with someone, maybe even this person, for example. Maybe you're going back over things and trying to see, okay, well, if I want to balance things out, where is that leading? And you might be looking over past conversations like, okay, who's actually been doing most of the work and who needs to balance the scales, right? So maybe that's something on your mind right now. But yeah, either way, it's a pretty fiery energy, represents a lot of movement, and that would be the past energy. I feel like most likely it's you. It could also be this person as well, but getting more of a vibe that it's you when we connect it to what that would represent for you right now in your chart. All right, and in the position of the present, we have the Three of Swords, right? So doom and gloom. You guys definitely could have gone through some breakups recently, or maybe even will be, right, as we move into the month of May. So that would be the bad news, right? And this is actually a Libra card as well. So for those of you who have your placement between 10 and 20 degrees, whether it's your sun, moon, rising sign, this could probably possibly resonate with you even more. But this is what's underneath it, the Wheel of Fortune. So if the good news, it's as much of a silver lining as you can get, really, with the Three of Swords, which is to say that if there was some kind of an ending, or if you're going to experience an ending soon, it seems like it was actually just meant to happen. And this is once again pointing to the Sagittarius energy with the Wheel of Fortune. It's a Jupiter card. So, that could mean a few things. That could mean ending communication with someone, right? Because we have the 3 there, and like I said, for you guys, Sagittarius is your third house. Or this could be reviewing some communications that led to heartbreak, right? Maybe you're looking over them with Jupiter going in retrograde, and maybe you're really trying to balance the scales in that regard. Like, okay, did I understand this situation correctly, or was there a misunderstanding? You just might be looking over all of that stuff. Okay. I don't want to fully downplay the Three of Swords energy for those of you who have gone through that or will in the near future, but like I said, with the Wheel of Fortune under it, it looks like it would be for the best, and then you have some pretty solid cards moving forward from that too. So I don't think that's really something that's going to put a damper on your month very much. All right, in the near future position, we have, we have the Magician. So this is an energy about manifesting. I also view this as a South Node card. You guys have the South Node transiting your 4th house right now, and it's actually going to be hanging out with Saturn. So and I've mentioned this for you guys, I think, in the past couple readings, just talking about maybe shedding old beliefs that you might have had from, your early family life, and, or at the very least, if not shedding them, just really looking at them and deciding, do they really fit what you want for your life, essentially. So with that Saturn energy coming in there, it could just really be checking in and saying, all right, how are you feeling? Are you ready to let this go? Yes or no? Um, and then on top of that, this is another card that could point to a Jupiter type energy. So we could go back to the third house stuff that we were talking about. And what I usually like to do when I do see the magician is look at what they're pointing at. And they're pointing right towards this card here, the star. And then there's also a card underneath it. I forgot what it was, but we'll look at it soon. But I remember it was something good, I think. So having this pointing right at that, to me, this shows that you're trying to manifest your happiness. So, pretty solid, right? So, maybe that's what all of these situations have proven you. As a Libra, you guys are all about the balance and, seeking a partner in a lot of things in life, but maybe you're finding that, you know what, I can do that for myself. Maybe that's what all of these harsh lessons you guys might have been going through lately have been meant to show you. But yeah, let's see what we have with the star card. So in the position of your influence on the situation, we have the star card. And we have, that's what it was, the Nine of Cups. So yeah, this is basically, you've probably heard 99% of tarot readers refer to this as the wish card, and then this is actually the major arcana version, essentially, of the wish card. So yeah, with the magician pointing right to that, like I said, whatever this was, and especially with the Wheel of Fortune underneath it too, whatever this ending was, it seems to be propelling you in a pretty good direction. I don't remember if you guys had the Tower last month. I know you've definitely had it in a few readings, if I'm not mistaken. I don't remember if last month was one of them with the whole shedding theme. But, the one thing we do have to say with the star is that it does represent, to me, it is the card that comes after the Tower. So usually I point to this as a dissolution of ego. So, maybe there was some ego things that you really had to let go, and maybe some of them didn't come through in the healthiest way. So maybe it was a bit of a painful split from that. But either way, this looks like you're in a pretty good spot now, and now maybe you've learned some lessons, important lessons, and now you're really ready to, get your life moving in the right direction. And then with the Nine of Cups, again, this is to me, I point to this being more of a self-worth energy. Like I always say with this card, it's the person knowing what they bring to the table, if you will, right? So let's say that these are, given at its cups, let's say that these are experiences that they've had in their love life, right? Maybe some of them have been kind of rough, right? If we think about the cards before the Nine of Cups, there are a few rough cup cards in there, like the Five of Cups, for example. And, this is just saying that maybe you're saying, all right, well, all of those experiences, good or bad, they taught me something. I know what I bring to the table, and, I know my worth. So combine that with the star card, this could just be saying that you're really on your way to getting what will truly make you happy. All right, in the position of the environment's influence on the situation, we have the Ace of Pentacles. So this could be, again, going back to what we were saying there, I know I've kind of turned it more toward romance, but going back to the job situation there, like I said, if there's an emperor, meaning your boss in this situation, that you're hoping to see some balance from, like I said, maybe there's a pay increase that you're due or some kind of bonus, or maybe even just starting a job with a new company, for example. That could even be at play too. Maybe now with the ace energy, the way that I see it usually is it represents more of an idea or maybe just a communication rather than a firm offer. So let me explain that in a couple of different ways. Let's say that this is revolving around a job offer, right? Maybe it's a promotion that you've been going for in the job, right? So maybe you've been working toward the promotion, and now they offer it to you, but you might find out that, let's say, it doesn't start until July. right? So, okay, you're pretty much, you know, you're signing up for that promotion, but now you have a date as far as, yes, it'll be in July. So you're like, okay, well, I'm going to get more money, but I just have to wait for it, right? It's not going to be there right away. Okay, cool. I know I got they took me for the promotion. I know I'll eventually get that pay increase, but now I have to wait until July to get it. Um, if this isn't in a romantic context, this could just be someone who, is has an idea to make an offer to you, but they haven't actually done it yet. Or this could be someone, let's say, even if you guys are discussing making some kind of plans together, right? And they could say to you, oh, maybe I'll come out there and during the summer or something like that. So like, okay, so we made pretty solid plans, but it's still going to be some distance in the future. That's the general idea. And, this could also be, when I say with the environment, it doesn't necessarily have to be someone else doing something. It could also represent the energies at play that are leading you to doing something. So maybe you have a new idea regarding finances in your mind. Maybe you figured out a way to increase your own income, for example, and you're just waiting and trying to figure out how to implement that plan. All right. In the position of hopes or fears, we have the Five of Swords. I'm gonna guess this is a fear. If you want to be in the Five of Swords energy, then you get what you signed up for. That's up to you. But the Five of Swords energy, for those who don't know, it's typically like an ego conflict type thing. I always say it's those arguments that you go into where you know that nothing good's going to come out of it going into it, but you still do it anyway. Like we could look at the look on this guy's face. Looks pretty smug. The other two people don't look too happy with the situation. But, to go with the sword metaphor, keep in mind they don't look like they're that injured either. So you might think that you won the battle, but did you win the war, right? They're walking away. But staying in that type of energy could just bring this energy back around over and over and over again. Something to keep in mind there. And since we do have the Three of Swords on the table, what I will say is what I usually think of when I see these two cards is to me, after the Three of Swords, you have the Four of Sword energy, which is someone who's doing the healing. And when I see the five, I think of it representing someone that skipped that step of healing. So, with the Three of Swords energy here, it's almost like they pull those three swords out and they're in denial. They're like, oh yeah, I'm over it. I got past that. I'm totally good, right? Meanwhile, they're because they haven't truly healed, they're still carrying those three swords around with them. They're causing harm to others, right? You've probably heard that term before. That saying, if you don't heal what hurt you, you bleed on people who haven't cut you, or something along those lines. That kind of butchered it, speaking of swords, but I think that you guys probably get the general idea of what the phrase is there. But that's the vibe them getting there. But with that in mind, with that in the fear position, that could just be your fear right now. Like you could worry, you might have, if this is something that you've gone through recently, and maybe going back to this being someone that you do want to get something off the ground with, you might be fearful that you haven't healed. So you're like, okay, am I ready? Right? That could be all it's coming down to. You're worried that you might not be ready for this connection. And maybe that's why we have the Ace of Wands and the Page of Cups in reverse, because you're like, okay, I just don't know if I'm ready for this right now. But yeah, hopefully that resonates with you guys. And lastly, in the outcome position, we have the Sun card. There we go. And the Eight of Pentacles. So this is actually a Virgo card, represents the first 10 degrees of Virgo. And this to me just points to happiness. So looking at these two cards together, this could just be saying what I touched on a bit earlier with the Magician energy, the Star energy. You realizing that, you could just totally make your own happiness. You're not relying on anyone else to do it for you. You're working on making yourself happy, right? Not putting others first. Really just trying to make sure that you're okay before you're worrying about anyone else. And in more of a financial sense, to kind of go along what I was saying before there, with maybe, you're thinking of ways to generate your own income. This to me is very much an entrepreneur type energy. I mean, the person's literally making their own money. So, that's why that definitely points like an entrepreneurial spirit to me. Um, but yeah, so either way you slice it, if this is just you really making your own happiness, or even if this is a connection, this could be you putting in the work towards that connection that you really want, right? And in a financial sense, this could just represent you really just kind of carving your own lane for yourself and making your own money. But I mean, either way, like I said, there's some really solid cards here. Really, aside from the Three of Swords there, and even that has its silver lining with the Wheel of Fortune underneath it. And then, yes, these two things are in reverse, but I feel like in one way, shape, or form, what's really coloring that is the fact that you just might fear that you're not healed yet, which is cool because ultimately that's a sign of caring too, right? You're like, you know what? Yes, maybe you really do want that person, but you're like, I don't want to, get into something too early if I'm not truly healed and possibly ruin it with them. That could be what's on your mind. But looks like you're moving through these energies pretty quickly though. So maybe at the start of the month you might be feeling this way, but maybe towards the end things might pick up for you. We'll see. All right, and let's take a look at the Oracle cards. The first one you guys got is All That Glitters. There's the artwork for it, and the number is 16. I do have to point out actually that 16, that's also the number of the tower, so maybe this is going to be tied to if you guys did go through a tower moment recently. Maybe that's going to shed some light on that. Let's see what it says. All right. It says, essential meanings: a need to see beyond the superficial, the desire to don a mask or dress something up to disguise its true nature, trying to be something you're not, chasing after every sparkly new thing, being mercurial. The oracle's message: it's only human to want to adorn oneself in trinkets and paint a pretty picture of oneself. It's natural to want to acquire the trappings of status, or to deny them as a statement of rebellion. But if it sparkles, is it better? Whether it's a fast car, a big house, a title or position, the stamp of authority, or the sparkling of diamonds, these icons let you know something about a person, place, or thing. Or do they? The truth is that people seek to acquire things because of what they will do for them and how they symbolically will elevate them and make them more attractive. This card signals that it's time to see beyond the adornments and probe underneath the surface. Learn to recognize the mask people wear and the motives underlying them. Imagine that all the glitter is gone. Would you still desire the object or person? So that's something to keep in mind there. A few things stick out to me with that message was, let me see if I can find it. Oh, well, actually going back to the essential meanings, trying to be something you're not, that actually brought something to my mind there, which was to say, if you're in the Emperor energy, think of it in that way, like the Emperor is your opposite sign. So that could just be saying that maybe you, in that regard, were trying to be something you're not, right? Trying to take on that energy in some way, and maybe it was to your detriment. But not necessarily. That's just something that literally popped up in my head as I was reading it. I didn't really get that feeling from the main spread, so just figured I'd throw that out there, though. And then the next thing that stuck out to me was talking about, almost like shedding the desire for those material things, if that's something that you really were about. And that almost made me think of the star card. This person is actually naked, right? So that could represent that no longer desiring those things necessarily, right? Or just realizing that they're not as important to you maybe as they once were, right? And then maybe that's related to that fourth house stuff that I was talking about. Like maybe you grew up in a family that was very materialistic, and you just kind of adopted that from growing up around that environment, and maybe as you get older, you're like, you know what? Yeah, I got all these things now because that's how I was raised, but does it make me happy at the end of the day, right? Maybe that's where you're going with that. All right, and then the relationship message says, sometimes we try to become something we're not to impress others. We embellish a story a bit, adding some dramatic elements to make us more appealing. The real person becomes hidden behind the sparkle and shine. Then there are times when we don't see the true value of someone else because he or she may not have the glitz and glamour that seems so desirable. Now is the time to look past the surface, beyond the mask, to the essence of a person. Who that person is, not what he or she has to give you, is important. See beyond the glitter and look for the inner glow. Use the eyes in your heart. Let go of artifice and let what is authentic shine. So, another weird, interesting thing came up to me there now after reading that was to say that maybe there is someone in your environment that maybe you did have a thing for. Like, let's say it is the emperor, right? Maybe you were drawn to the emperor because they had a lot of financial success, right? Because what made me think of that is the Ace of Pentacles, right? Because we're not seeing an actual person here in the environment position. We're just literally seeing a huge pentacle. So, so however weird it sounds, this probably only resonates for a few of you, but maybe that's what your attraction was to this person, right? And maybe you realize that you're like, you know what? Really, all I actually liked about them was the things that they had, all the money that they had, right? Or maybe just power, right? They were a powerful person. That's what I was drawn to. And now maybe that you're going through these changes you've been going through now, maybe that's the cause of the Ace of Wands and Page of Cups in reverse, which is like, okay, you know what? Now I realize my whole attraction to them was just based on the money that they had or the power that they had, and really as a person they're kind of, not at all a match for me. So, and then that could go in line with you saying, well, you know what, I'm gonna, you know, generate my own happiness. I'm gonna make my own money. I don't need someone else for that. You know what I mean? So that could be what it is. Like I said, that's probably only going to resonate for a few of you, but that kind of popped into my head pretty strong there. That symbolism. So, yeah. All right, let's move on to the next Oracle deck. You guys actually got two cards that popped up here. One was Starfish Spirit, open to infinite possibilities. And, this is one that I've definitely seen before. The next one I've never seen, so I'm looking forward to seeing what that has to say. But take a look at this one first. All right, it says Oracle message. Stretched out on the beach, the starfish opens fully to the rays of the sun, to the power of potential. As you look out toward the horizon, do you open up to infinite possibility? Spirit is the source of opportunities beyond your wildest imagination and ensures endless possibilities are available. At this time, Starfish Spirit urges you to stretch past the limits of your everyday perception and comfort zone to dream of bigger things and imagine with even greater hope and faith, for miraculous potential is shining down on you. Feel it, bask in it, and open yourself to be filled with inspiration. This is a very fortunate sign that Starfish Spirit has come to remind you of your infinite potential. So, I won't ramble on too long about this one, but what else popped in my head as I was reading it too? I'm thinking to myself, well, Starfish Spirit, and as I'm reading it and talking about a very fortunate sign, Starfish Spirit has come to remind you of your infinite potential. To me, that's what the star, the star of starfish, right? That's what the star energy to me represents as well. Realizing your infinite potential, and the sun energy is almost embracing that as well. So definitely seems to align with that. All right, next up we have the Mouse Spirit. So this is one I've never seen before. It says, tend to the small things. There's the artwork for it, and the number there is 40. Let's take a look at that. All right, it says, the humble mouse pays attention to the smallest details, and Mouse Spirit calls on you to notice the nuances and the fine print at this time. In your eagerness to meet your goals and pursue your dreams, it is easy to forget the importance of clear communication and tending to the little things, including people's subtle signs that they are unhappy, as well as the small voice inside of you that says, "This doesn't feel right." Take your time to sniff out what you need to know. Is there some detail or nuance about how you engage others or operate in the world that is key to your success, but you've too readily dismissed as nothing big or nothing special? Mouse Spirit reminds you that what seems small may be more important and powerful than you think. So look again. Do not underestimate yourself or your potential for co-creating something amazing when you pay attention to the details. So that's definitely worth taking in there as well. So hopefully you guys got something from that. All right, and then lastly, we do have a mudra card. So for those of you who don't know, basically for all the signs this year, I've been pulling mudra cards, and what mudras are essentially are their hand gestures that you make, and their purpose is to help clear blockages. So can be sometimes related to physical ailments, sometimes mental, emotional blocks. And basically, you want to hold them in a meditative position, usually for at least 5 minutes. Sometimes they'll even say 30, 45 minutes, but if you're not accustomed to meditating, that would seem like way too long. So 5 minutes is definitely a good starting point, usually. And this one in particular is the Anahata Chakra Mudra. And the keyword for it is compassion. This is a pretty complex looking one, so I'll definitely keep it up there for you guys if you want to get a feel for how to do it. And I'll also put the name of it in the description of the video too, and maybe you can look up a video on it if you're interested. But let me just let you guys take a screenshot or pause it to see what this says. Okay, and then I'll just move it up so you could see the rest of what it has to say. As you could see, for benefits, it says activates Anahata Chakra, improves the health of the heart, lungs, and breast, regulates breathing, expands feelings of compassion and love, increases healing abilities. So that sounds like something you think you could benefit from. Like I said, I'll put that in the description. And if you guys would like to book a personal reading with me, I'll leave information in the description of the video for that as well. And if you want to follow me on Instagram, we have a little bit more fun with tarot and astrology there, so you can check that out. But if not, I'll see you guys next month. All right, bye.